Hello, everybody, and welcome to ROTORS, the RC Helicopter Show. This one has turned into a little bit special, I think. We've got some interesting people that you have heard of, and will have seen flying around on the circuit. Arguably, some of the best pilots in the world. So, let's get going, and we'll have a little bit of a chat with Kev first. How you doing, Kev?
Hello. How are you, dude?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm really excited for this season.
Yeah, I am actually. I'm like a kid at Christmas, which is pretty good actually. Seeing we've just had Christmas. You have a good time, yeah?
It was really good. Bit quiet. Nothing too major going on, which was quite nice.
Cool.
Sort of just to relax and do things, do a bit of flying and stuff. But it's been really nice. But weather's been a bit chilly. Didn't do that much flying.
Yeah, no, I got out and I got quite a bit of flying done actually. Obviously off work for 2 weeks, so every time it was flying weather, out the door. But yeah, no, it's been quite good. Rebuilt my Goblin 630 in those colours, so I've got two pretty Goblins now. 770's now gone away to be painted again, so that'll be in the same colours. 700 electric out the door, 700 nitro in the door. So I've not gotten a line problem, honest. So, but no, yeah, it's getting there. I have a bit of problem with my eyes at the minute, actually. Don't know, just really sore, tired, something. Probably a little bit too much right hand action, as it were.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. I've got to drag it through the gutter as we start. But no, yeah.
Well, it's only going to go downhill from here, isn't it? I mean,
yeah. Well, that's it. We've got a redneck stroke pirate stroke crazy person from Florida to come on in a minute, and you guys are in for a treat because this guy he's been into helis like forever. You know, he's done it since the Schluter Heli Boy days, which is right back when. You know, so he's got some stories. I mean, we've got the world champion on as well. You know, Duncan Bossian, the world champion. I mean, it can only get better, surely to God. And Julian Berard as well. He's probably one of the upcoming pilots. You know, he's destined for big things this year, I reckon. So, but yeah, let's tell you what. Let's go over now to Duncan and say hi. Duncan, how are you?
I'm really good, and you?
I'm excellent, mate. I'm excellent. You have a good Christmas and New Year, yeah?
Yeah, perfect. Some good party with friends, and it's perfect.
Cool. So how's life treating you now that you're the world champion in helicopters? So how has your life changed since you became world champion?
With girl is the same. Don't change anything, but it's better for when I go to some event. It's very different. So many people come for have some signature on the canopy or for take picture. It's very good. I like that.
Okay. Cool.
His tail gain increased.
Yeah, that was the crazy part that we were telling you about. We'll get more from Dave in a minute, but. Oh, so is there any big things coming up for you in the future, Duncan? Anything in the near future? Anything that you're looking forward to?
For the future, I don't know. For the next year, we have the 3D Cup in France, the new world champion.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I need to start the training and for try to do the same thing as last year, but.
Mm-hmm.
We will see.
Okay, doke. Alright. Well, we'll move on from Duncan now. Obviously, we need to say hello to everybody before we get too deep into everything. Aid, do you want to take this one?
Let's. I think we should go and have a chat with Dave Sweatt, aka the Pirate, aka the Floridarian, aka that bloke on the screen down there. Dave, how you doing, matey?
I'm good, man. One thing is I'm not from Florida. I'm from Texas.
Right,
but
you're in
cool.
Florida.
Yeah, no, I love living in it. But if I had moved to Florida, I wouldn't got to meet Duncan and Julian and all the cool people. We hang with the cool crowd down here, man. Burt Camera, everybody.
Yeah, you must be full of goblins down there.
There's
Full
a
of goblins.
there's a goblin or two around. Yeah.
Funny that. So, Dave, tell us, just give us a quick, like, 30-second synopsis of who you are, how long you've been flying, what you fly, and sort of tell us about yourself a little bit.
Well, okay, that's cool. I started flying when I was a kid. I started flying planks. My grandpa got me into it when I was about 3 or 4. And I started flying helicopters in about, I think, 87 to 89. I don't really remember. My grandpa took me to a flying field in Austin, Texas, and we saw this kid that could flip a helicopter upside down. And that was way cool back in, when I was a kid. And so we went to go introduce ourselves to them and say, hey, that's cool. And when I say flip upside down, I mean literally it was like, wow, engine's almost dying, but he hovered it upside down. Anyway, so turns out that guy's name was Curtis Youngblood, and me and Curtis been friends for, I don't know, going on 30 years now, something like that. So yeah, that's where it all kind of started. And so yeah, man, I work for Microsoft. I fly helis. My current helicopter fleet includes a Goblin Speed that Bert has helped me with a lot. I just got a 380 today. I'm real excited about. I've got a Gowie NX7 over here in the corner. I got a lot of machines. A lot of machines. Too many machines and not enough time.
Yeah, I know the feeling, or used to know the feeling. So, it's fair to say that Curtis is the grandfather of 3D. I mean, he's been, and I remember watching him at Sandown here in the UK back in the early 90s with his Futura, and watching him do the knife edge pirouettes and all the stuff. I mean, the stuff he was doing back then was pretty incredible, considering the level of the electronics back then. The servos and the gyros just are nowhere near what we have today. So, I mean, what was it? What was Curtis like back then? Did you what's he like as a man?
He's actually a dork. He is. He's a great guy. Great guy. Great human being. He's like every other guy that flies helis. He's kind of a computer dork. He does his thing. He keeps to himself. He helps everybody. He always has. You can walk up to Curtis Youngblood and hand him any helicopter. I've handed Curtis a Vario Airwolf with a turbine in it and said, "Hey man, make this work." And Curtis is like, well, okay, he's just one of those guys. He just helps everybody. No matter what machine you fly, no matter what it is. I have pictures of him recently. We went to Texas for a fun fly, and I handed him his first Goblin. And he looked at it, and he goes, well, what's the pitch curve, and what's this and that? And I said, I don't know. I said, figure it out, man.
He's an amazing guy. Absolutely amazing guy, and just sorry to talk over the top of you, but let's introduce some other people. We've got another hour and 50 minutes, so let's talk to some more people, and then we'll come back and talk in general about other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Julian, unmute yourself, mate, and let's have a chat with you. I know your English isn't particularly amazing, but good enough, I'm sure.
Hello. Good night.
Hello. Who are you? Where do you fly? What do you fly? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm 20 years old, and I fly only Goblin. I'm team pilot Goblin. I flew with 4 Goblin 700 and 1 Goblin 380 since 1 month.
And whereabouts in France are you?
Sorry?
Whereabouts do you live?
I don't understand.
Where do you live? Where are you now?
France.
France. Whereabouts?
In Grenoble, you know?
No, sorry, what was that? Okay. So, how are you finding the 380 then? Obviously, that's a new model that's been built recently. How are you finding it?
You know what's the news on these helicopters?
Yes.
Maybe better to show. I don't know if you can see.
Ooh.
Everybody sees a beast.
Yeah, man.
That's beautiful.
So there is a lot of good points on these helicopters. First, it's possible to fit very big batteries. I use OptiPower 1400 to 3500. So I get 2 minutes to something like 6 minutes of flight, depends on the battery that I use. And this helicopter is for me better than the 500 because it's very light and very powerful.
Excellent. That's really nice. That is I'm sure we'll be seeing. Do we have an official release date on the 380 yet? Do we know?
Yeah,
January
I think
22nd.
2022, yes. 22nd.
January 22nd, or I know they've been available for pre-order for a little while. I think Kev's got one on pre-order from Skyline, is it? I think it is.
Yes, I've got one on pre-order. I'm just saving up for it now.
Awesome.
I'm super excited.
Cool. Right. Let's move on swiftly. We will come back to have a more general chat with more people. Sorry to put you on the spot there, on the spot there, Julian. Sorry to do that to you. Runas, how are you doing, matey? A regular on the show, regular comer. How are you doing? You have to unmute yourself, mate. No. Okay.
It's at the top, Runa.
We'll move on.
Okay, I got it.
There we go.
There we go.
How are you doing, Runas? Do you have a good Christmas and New Year? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Had a great Christmas and New Year. And unfortunately not so much helis, but we just started to set up a few helis with Vortex Governor.
Awesome. Have you flown one with the Vortex Governor yet, or have you?
Now I just finished setting one up for just a few minutes ago.
Awesome.
So I was setting up on a 550. So hopefully I'll try to fly it one of the days.
Awesome. So Runas is from Norway. He's a regular contributor on the show, and you've got some nice big stuff and all sorts of interesting things. Now, if you go back a couple of shows, he goes into a lot of depth about his models and stuff. It really is an interesting watch, isn't it, Runas?
Yes, a lot of custom stuff for the frames and stuff like that.
Yeah, really nice.
2000 class, the skeleton frames, and just a quick one if you can see. There you go.
Yeah, beautiful.
This is the basic of the frame. It's aluminium and pretty simple setup.
Okay, right.
Hey, I have a question for him. Where do we buy that?
You can't. It's the guy who has designed and cut them. He has taken down his site. He's doing his profession full time instead. He had this frame making for a hobby. But,
so what you're telling me is that if you crash it, you're screwed.
No, I send him a mail and he make me the parts I need.
Oh, okay.
He just don't take new customers for the moment.
Alright. Well, cool.
As I understand. I really like his work. Love it a lot.
That's a nice machine.
Yeah, it's very nice. I have this one I showed now is a 1000 class, and I have one with a 700 with the same frame, and a 550 that stretched to 600, and a 600 that stretched to 800 with the same setup almost.
Cool.
Big stuff. Running hideously low head speeds as well, aren't they? What sort of head speeds are you running on those?
This one I showed now, I'm set up at 900.
You see the blades going round.
Yeah, and the other one from full pitch, that one is approximately 1000. But you can go down to 600 with no issue with the tail either.
Just a quick reminder, everybody, that the Q&A app, if you're not in the call, the Q&A app is open. So if you've got questions for these guys, just pop it in the Q&A and we'll have a look. If somebody else has already asked a question that you're interested in, then you can hit the +1 button and it'll promote it up the queue and get more likely to get answered. So,
right. On the subject of that, Aid, I've got a question here from Eric Pedron. It's a question for Duncan, this one. Well, Duncan and Julian, to be fair. How much time do the pros like Duncan spend on the simulator to practice and come up with new moves?
For me, I don't fly a lot on simulator because I can fly just next to my house. So just when I want to try a new maneuver, I just charge my depot and go to fly.
That's fair enough.
Right, that's how you roll right there, man. Have your own private flying field.
And for you, Julian, how much time do you spend on a simulator per week?
Never. I prefer to fly in real, like Duncan. I don't really like simulator.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I hope that answered your question, Eric.
See, that's the thing with living in France. The weather's always beautiful.
Yeah,
so
like
you can fly all the time.
Yeah, you live in England, the weather's always crap.
Hence, we spend a lot more time on the simulator. And we don't have our own personal flying fields. That also doesn't help.
Yeah, that would be very, very nice. That would be very nice. So, I'm just looking at these other icons for these other guys that are in the chat. None of them are live. I was going to go to those. And
Simon has said he was. I was having a quick chat with Simon in the chat, and he'd like to come and say hello. Simon, can you hear us? Can you talk? Do you have a webcam?
Oh, there he is.
I can hear you. I don't have a webcam. It's broken.
That's okay.
All right, fair dues.
So, Simon, who are you? Where are you from? What do you fly? And do you have any questions for these people?
Yeah, sure. I'm Simon Hildrew. I'm 31. Live in the UK. Been flying helicopters for 6 years. Built up a pretty decent skill set in that time. Got a question for mainly the competition guys. After 6 years, I'm struggling to find motivation to learn any more. Like in my first few years of flying, I flew on simulators, and like I'm not the same as you guys. Like I learned most of my skills on the simulator due to cost factors. I used to spend something like 7-8 hours a day on the simulators, and I've compiled something like 15,000 hours in total on various different simulators: Real Flight, Next, Phoenix, pretty much every simulator there is I've tried basically. How do they still maintain like the motivation to learn once they've reached a certain level? Like, what was their goals when they set out, and how did they continue after they reached their goals and surpassed their goals?
Let's go to Duncan with that first.
It's difficult to reply for this answer because I think this is personal. This is everybody will thinking about a different thing. But me, for the competition, it's like I said 2 minutes ago. it's difficult to reply this answer.
Duncan, just tell them it's the girls, Dave. It's all the girls that come across the top.
I mean, the same question can go for everybody, really. Like, eventually, like, I know we all love the hobby, but there's bound to come a time, like, it is a hard hobby to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like, there is times that but like throughout my years flying, like, that I've felt like I could never get any better. And it's been a genuine, like, personal battle to continue on, to find the motivation to push past that. I'm just wondering if any of these guys ever experienced that as well.
I will speak for my part on that, because having got to the point of burning myself out, really, for flying way too much, and just pushing myself too hard, and they're taking the competition side way too seriously. It is easy, or it is possible, certainly, to burn yourself out. And at some point, you just have to go, actually, I just enjoy flying. And that's the point where I am at now, really. I don't have any interest in competing, because I know that I would take it way too seriously again, and then end up flying too much, and then it becoming a job and not enjoying it anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are only a small number of Duncan Bossians and Alan Zarbos and Bert Cameras and all these really, really, really high-end pilots. So not everybody can be them. So you just have to, at some point, you just have to go, actually, I'm happy where I am, and I'm just going to go out and enjoy myself. And I'm not saying that don't try to improve, obviously, but you just take it, don't take it too seriously. Basically, just have fun with it. It's a hobby. It's a sport at the end of the day. It's supposed to be fun. And if you're not enjoying it, then you're doing something wrong.
I do enjoy it. It's just I have had such high expectations of myself. Like, I surpassed every goal I ever had for myself 10 times, 20 times over. And I still feel like I have a lot to give. I still have the ability to learn. I still, have the ability to improve. But it's so hard to get out of the routine of just doing the same old moves that you're used to and you can do in your sleep, and learn more. Like, that's where I'm stuck. When I fly, I tend to fly the same moves over and over and over again.
Have you tried competing?
Well, this year I intend to compete. I've never thought about competing until this year. I spoke to the events organizer of MK Heli Club for the grassroots this year in the UK, and I showed him a video, and like, it was a little disheartening for him to see that I was too good to enter the grassroots. So that kind of put a kibosh on that plan. And now I have to look towards more advanced competitions, and like, I want the competition to be fair. I wouldn't have entered the grassroots if it would just be a walkover, but just because it wouldn't be fair to everybody else. But like, it's like I'm putting on.
3D Champs is a really good one.
That's what I've been advised, but from Aid from Skyline Model, from Align T-Rex, and Aid from Skyline Models, to be precise.
Yeah.
But like, it's a lot of work. Like, I want to compete at least once in my flying life, just to see what it's like. Like, I've seen the competitions, I've watched competitions, I've watched, Duncan fly, etc., and it's truly mind blowing. Like, really, really mind blowing. Like, how you can get to that kind of level in the time that he has. And, I take my hat off to him for doing that. Same for Julian as well. He's a really good pilot for SAB. Such small periods of time, and being able to accomplish 10 times as much as what I've achieved in half the time. It's a little disheartening.
Well, that's the thing with these kids, you see. Once you get to sort of 18, 19, you're past it, and you need to retire. Apparently, that's
I have recognised that over the years, that younger pilots, like specifically kids, like I can't remember his name, the young Chinese lad that was 7, 8 years old, who's flying for KDS.
Justin G.
Yeah, Justin G. Like, when I first seen that kid fly, I just wanted to quit the hobby, to be honest. Like, And
I have a comment here. Okay.
Yeah.
Just do it for yourself, dude.
I mean,
Don't worry about what somebody else is doing. Just fly for yourself.
I do fly for myself, but at the same time, I have such high expectations of myself that it's like without them expectations, I don't think I would have gotten as far as I have in the hobby at all.
I think I can say something about that because I know what you want to, what you tell me, but you need to know me. I don't start to fly 5 years ago or maybe 6 years ago. I start to fly 15 years ago, and I'm only 18. You need to know I don't do only 2 weeks of training for a year. I training every week, and
I understand that. Yeah,
it's not just it's not for me just a hobby. It needs to stay a hobby for everybody. But when you want to go higher with a better level, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
Like, one of the biggest things I try to overcome is how you guys fly so low with such confidence.
Money.
True. That's all I can ever boil it down to, really.
Well, I think you answered yourself there, actually, Simon. It's confidence. I mean, once you've flown a model so long and you get intimate with it, you get confident with it, and you're confident in your own abilities, and you're confident in what the machine can do. So you do tend to bring stuff lower. I mean, anyone that's seen me fly, I fly up in the stratosphere. You need binoculars to see my helicopters, but at least I'm not going to crash. You know, but obviously I'm not afraid of getting it on the deck upside down. You know, it's that doesn't bother me because I know what my helicopters can do. I know what I'm capable of. I mean, I ain't the greatest pilot in the world. I've never ever professed to be, but it is just a confidence thing. I mean, do you fly on your own, or do you fly with a club or anything?
I've flown 6 years entirely on my own. I got into the hobby through me dad, and within 3 weeks I'd achieved what he'd basically took a year to do, and he didn't take it that very kindly, and he quit the hobby and basically left me on my own to do it.
Right, okay.
But for me, it's always been mental blocks. Like, I've got the confidence and I've got the skill to fly low, but it's just a mental block. It feels like there's a barrier of a barrier of air that I can't actually fly below because my brain just won't allow it.
Yeah, sounds like you got the age-old problem of counting pound signs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is a tricky one. I'm certainly flying. I've noticed and quite frustrated by the fact that I'm flying a lot higher now than I used to, and gone from sort of dragging tails in the grass to in funnels and stuff to flying at rarely getting below about 6 foot or 4 foot. You know, it's and there is it's having the confidence in yourself and the model, and I think probably your next step should be to get yourself down to a local helicopter club that's got some good pilots in it, and because then that'll inspire you to go and try some different manoeuvres. Because when you're flying on your own, it's very easy to just get locked into doing the same manoeuvres over and over again. And if you go and fly with other people, and that's one of the reasons why I used to do a lot of flying, is you see different people flying different flying styles. And you always come back picking something up, and it's definitely worth. I mean, and certainly from a social perspective as well. I don't fly. I've got a field about half a mile away, which I can go and fly in anytime I want, and I don't because I'd rather wait till the weekend and go and fly with the guys because it's a social thing, and then go down the pub afterwards and have a quick pint on the way home, kind of thing. So it's. You get that sort of social side, and you'll pick stuff up from there as well. But being in the right place and finding the right club is a bit tricky. Whereabouts do you live?
I live in County Durham.
County Durham. If we've got any Irish listeners,
not Irish.
Geordie Aid.
Oh,
Durham.
County Durham. Oh,
No.
sorry. I had this as I was saying Ireland. I thought I'm not sure that's right.
See, like I've flown on my 6 years not through choice really. Like I don't drive, and I have research clubs around in my local area, and there are a hefty drive to go to and from, etc.
Okay, yeah.
So
Not being able to
basically,
drive would make life difficult.
Yeah, and so I do know a couple of people up your neck of the woods, Simon, that do flying clubs, so I could probably put them in touch with you and just see if we can maybe sort something out, get a bit of a social aspect on. Because like Aid says, I mean, the biggest buzz for me flying is the club aspect. I mean, I keep harping on about it, but I joined South Cheshire Rally Addicts just after this time last year. It's one of the best things I did because it brought me flying on, and the social aspect behind it is just fantastic. You know, we just
I mean,
turn up on a Sunday, take the piss out of each other, and wobble helicopters around the sky. You know, you can't beat it.
Yeah, I mean, I have expanded the social thing. I mean, I've made friends recently with like a bloke called Derek Henderson in Scotland.
Yeah.
And I went up to go and fly up there with Derek in Scotland, and I did find myself flying a little bit lower and a little bit more braver when I was up there flying with him. I mean, it's why I want to compete, to come down and meet some of you people in the flesh. You know, it's all fair and good watching you in videos, but you know, it would be nice to actually meet and see this flying for real. Like I've never really seen any 3D like in person other than in videos. Like the only 3D I've seen is the 3D that I've done myself.
Yeah.
Like,
I must admit, having sort of stood in the same field as Duncan at what was it, Zone Village this year in the evening, watching Duncan fly was pretty incredible. And being that relatively close to it, a lot closer than what you would be at an official sort of show kind of thing. But in the evening, you get to be there with people and talk to people and have a chat with them and have a good old laugh and crash the models as well. You have to throw them at the ground as well in front of these guys as well.
Crashing's not in my vocabulary.
If you're not crashing, you're not trying hard.
True.
Moving on.
I mean,
let's talk to some more people. We'll come back. We'll talk about this more in a bit. Let's talk to some more people.
Yeah. Well, I've got this one, Aid. I've got this. Well, obviously, Miss Simon's just been going on about competitions and everything. He wants to compete and stuff, and that is part of the culture in the UK with the flying scene. There's a lot of competitions. I'd say there's more competitions than fly-ins, but that's a complete contrast to somewhere like America. I mean, Dave, you're probably the best person to talk about this one, like the contrast between the UK flying scene and the US flying scene, because you're more just fly-ins over there, aren't you?
Yeah, over here it's just we just go and have fun. I mean, there is competitions. Don't get me wrong. There is competition. We don't have a lot of them, but most people here just want to fly. I mean, they work all week. The helicopters are not over here. They're what you do on the weekend. You know, a lot of people go camp out. They go do whatever. And yeah, over here it's very laid back. It's a very laid back style. Do we have our competitions as far as like XFC? Yeah, and it's cool. Do we have night flying competitions? Night flying is big here in the U.S. We love it. It's a big thing. FAI is making a comeback. I am helping with that. We have basically, what is it? Nick Maxwell. What's his name? There's a guy named Dennis Perdusky who is the team manager for FAI, and Nick Maxwell, Daniel Hyatt, and Dwight Schilling. So they are our U.S. team to go to Austria to fly in the World Championships, and I help those guys a lot. We do fundraisers and stuff, auctions. This girl, Kelly, in Ohio, actually started a bake sale just with cookies, literally cookies, to generate money to send these guys over to Austria and stuff. So, yeah, you know,
Now, is that because you get no funding from the AHA?
From the what?
Is it IRCHA or AHA?
No, we do.
Yeah,
No, the AMA helps a lot. They do, but it's just not enough. It's just not enough. The economy's bad everywhere. Everybody knows that. You know, not. You know, yeah. It's just yeah. That the whole spectrum of the thing is basically that yeah, funding is not growing. The hobby, if you will, has kind of reached a point where we go to Futaba, we go to JR, and we ask them for money and stuff and funding and servos and free shit, and everybody's kind of reached their limit. So you do have to kind of go to the people and say, hey, will you help out with this? Will you help out with this? And yeah, it does come down to the homegrown folks, you know, like myself. Kelly Allen, her husband James, Courtney's been big with it, you know, but we do what we can do. But back to the original question, yeah, over here we just kind of, you know, take it laid back deal, you know. Orlando Heli blowout, Bert camera, you know, he did a big deal over here. You guys all saw it. Duncan was here, you know. Julian was here. I wouldn't have met Julian or Duncan had it not been for Burt Kammerer and the OHB. You know, it was a cool deal to witness that. I actually got to walk up to Duncan, hand him a hat, talk to him a little bit, and then he goes, "Hey Dave, come here and check this out." And it was Thursday. I remember this specifically. Nobody was really there. It was Thursday. And the sun had gone down. It was kind of going to storm a little bit, but it really wasn't. And I had never seen an overspeed, never. And he was like, Duncan said, "Hey, watch this." Wing! He hits that switch. Holy shit! I ran away. Oh my God, dude! Are you serious, Duncan? Are you serious? That's what you're doing now? Incredible, just incredible, man. I was just like, I've been flying these things since '89, and that helicopter just made that noise, you know. So it is, and he can tell you. He giggled. He had Duncan. I'll shut my mic off so you can talk. But there was a 7-year-old kid that they had with them, and this kid would look at me and he'd giggle. Every time Duncan would do something, this kid would giggle. He'd go, It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. That kind of stuff is how we enjoy the hobby in the United States. Friends, family, you know. Getting to the next level is one thing, but over here it's all just about having fun. Anyway,
yeah, it's only for having fun.
Tell the story.
I'd certainly like to see a lot more of fly-ins and that sort of thing carrying on, because yeah, we have the competitions over here, but the big shows are generally shows, so they're sort of you know, you look at sort of places like Western Park. Yes, there is a fly-in going on as well, but the main focus is that it's a competition and a retail show, and that means then there's restrictions on who can fly. You need to have a V certificate, that sort of thing. So. And Charmouth, on the other hand, is very, very good. But it's almost too social, because it's at the end of the season and the beginning of the season. Weather tends to be pretty naff, so you don't actually tend to get much flying in. It tends to be social only. So it kind of we could do with something in the middle of the summer when it's really, really nice to get together and just have a good old fly.
Well, we've got hours at the start of the summer. Yeah, I mean,
and that's the point actually. We do, and on that note, we have the RC Helicopter Show, Rotors Show fly-in when was it, Kev? I can't
May.
remember now.
Second weekend in May.
Second
Don't
weekend in
ask me the date 'cause I forgot. but yeah, that is just a back to basics fun fly.
Yes.
Turn up, pay to camp, fly. That's it. We're going to try and get a few demos going, trying to get a few sponsored pilots down to do demos and stuff. But other than that, it is just a pure basic, have fun, get drunk, fly helicopters, fun fly. Obviously not at the same time, but
that'll get people in trouble talking on radio shows about drinking and flying.
No, we can't condone such behaviour. but yeah, that's it. Just completely back to basics. So, I mean, let's just take it to the French guys now. I mean, what's the heli scene like in France, Duncan and Julian? I mean, obviously you're quite in tune with what happens in the UK because you're over for quite a few of the shows. But what's it like in France for like fly-ins and competitions and stuff? Is it as busy over there as it is in the UK?
I can answer if you want. In France, we have a nice competition. I think you know it's the 3D Cup.
Yes.
And it's very easy to. That's for me my first competition, and every year it's bigger and bigger. And I think it's a good competition, and it permits to me to improve my skills and go to other competition and events to have new sponsors. I think in France we are very lucky because we have this competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can speak about that. You know, it's really difficult for everybody to just start helicopter and want to go to a competition. And the 3D Cup is really cool for that because you have two different levels, and it's not like the Heli Master. The Heli Master, you have two different levels, but it's the same. The pilot have the same level in this level. It's the same. You can see who win in the advanced and who win in professional. It's almost the same level. And in France, with the 3D Cup, it's very difficult. You can come with a good level, but not with the best level. And after, when you are really good in advance, you can go in professional, and it's really different. And when we start the 3D Cup, we are maybe only 10 pilots. 6 or 7 years ago, and this year it will be the biggest competition in the world. That's why it's really cool.
It's really cool.
I have a question for our French friends about their event.
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, what I want to know is I can't fly 3D, but somebody told me that you guys are going to have pylon racing.
Yeah,
now that I can do. So how do I enter that? How do I get involved in that? Can you send me a link on that, Duncan, so I can, cast my entry and get involved in that? Because that thoroughly intrigues me. I mean, I know the whole thing of, you'll hit another helicopter. Who cares? Let's do that. That, my friend, is fun.
Yeah, that's why it's really cool, because I don't know if you see the post of the 3D Cup maybe 1 hour ago. They just publish we have the FPV Racer World Championship. It's the first time in the world. That's why it's really cool. That's why the 3D Cup is really cool, because if you just want to have fun, you don't need to fly a 3D. You can come for a speed race. You can come for FPV racer. It's not only 3D helicopter. That's why it's cool.
That's cool.
There you go.
There's so many aspects to the sport as well that you can get into.
That's
so much.
Now they're targeting all audiences, not just 3D. And 3D is great, but
yeah.
Right. Moving on. We've got some questions coming through on the Q&A. Thank you very much, guys, for putting those in. Feel free to put some more and plus ones that are there already. Duncan, are you in a position to show us any of your models, or
no?
No. Okay. Unfortunately, Sorry, Roman. That's not going to be possible. Right, next one.
Yeah, I've got this one. One for Michael Mantle. Talking of the overspeeding, Duncan's probably the best person to ask this one. How do you actually perform the manoeuvre? Does it put a lot of strain on the machine? So just talk us through, Duncan, how you get the heli to overspeed the head, and what sort of things you need to watch out for on the machine.
It's okay. I will answer that. You need to know the I don't create it. I create it, yes, but with my friend Julian, because at a little lunch in France, we start to try to do a big sound of the helicopter, and we try different maneuver for do an overspeed, and after many maneuver we find a good one. And you need to you can, if you see my hand, you need to go with full negative pitch, do a big loop, continue to have the full negative pitch, and when you are like this, just put the pitch to 0. And after, because if you put the full negative pitch, the helicopter can do that and explodes. Sometimes he did it. And when you are at this position with 0 pitch and maybe 200 km/h, you need to use the cyclic for do this. And when you are like that, you just put the full negative pitch and we will have a big overspeed. But before the overspeed, you need to change your tail gain to a gel rate. You need to have a gel rate with maybe 10 or 15% of gain and full throttle. And you need, before the overspeed, I want to say to everybody, you need to check your helicopter, check your blade, check your tail blade, check if any resonance is here. Because if you have just a little axis bend, the helicopter will explode, and it's really dangerous. That's why when you want to do an overspeed, do it really far away, because it's really dangerous.
Yeah, no, that's
the safety is the important thing there, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's a great bit of advice there. I mean, you see the likes of the pros of like Bert and Duncan, they're doing it fairly close to themselves, but if it's something you're going to try first, do it high, do it far away, because if something goes wrong, you're going to end up in all sorts of trouble.
And make sure that model is in perfect condition.
Yeah.
I've got a question on the overspeed side of things. Do you need to have a 700 to do it, or do the smaller stuff do it as well?
We can do it with any size.
Any size. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I was under the impression it was only a 700. You need the 700 for the weight and to get it to do it. But, that's good news. I shall go and fully check over the model and make sure it's absolutely perfect, and go and give it a go.
What kind of blade speeds?
If you get it wrong, you'll end up looking like a pirate.
Or worse.
Yeah.
So, Simon, did you just ask how much?
Sorry, Ed.
I think Simon just asked how much. How many RPM are you getting at the max?
Yeah, when it's at its peak, say like a 700. What kind of head speed is it going to?
4,000 RPM, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, 4,000. I think so.
4,000.
But when blades aren't rated for that, isn't that like a really dangerous maneuver to do, like pushing the blades 1,000 RPM past what they're rated for? I mean, I've seen a video of I'm not sure what helicopter was. I think it was a Logo that basically exploded right in front of the guy with a set of spin blades on that were rated for 3,000 RPM, and that looked very, very dangerous, like really, really dangerous. Like there was there was circumstance and look as to why someone wasn't injured in that instance.
That's why I say you need to check your helicopter before, because just the axis is a little bit bent, the helicopter will have an injury, but it's not the head will not break, but the blade will break, the tail blade will break, and after something breaks at 4,000 RPM, the helicopter explodes directly.
Yeah, right. In that video, did quite clearly demonstrate that the blades did actually let go quite spectacularly.
Yeah, I think what Duncan is trying to say, Simon, is if there's something a little bit out of kilter, something not quite balanced or something, it's going to put excess stress into the blades or into the tail blades, or if it isn't absolutely perfect.
I mean,
if there is maybe a chance of something, it's going to highlight it. So,
yeah.
I mean, end of the day, yes, you are pushing your blades above what the manufacturers say they are capable of, and manufacturers, they are now taking this into account, and they are making blades that are designed for this purpose. I don't know if any specific manufacturers, but I know SAB are taking it into account because Bert does all these McDougals and stuff like that. But again, it's just safe practice. Make sure your helicopter is right, everything's balanced, you've got no vibrations, and just do it high up and far away. It's probably the best advice that you could probably get for that.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Next question.
Mm-hmm.
Do competitions pay money to the winners?
Sometimes.
And are those prize funds getting bigger?
Megan is able to answer this question.
I don't listen to the question. Sorry.
Very, very well avoided there, Duncan. Very well done. Okay, I'm gonna put a slight twist on that, slightly. Does the prize fund in any way get anywhere close to what you spend on the model on the hobby?
No way.
No way.
No way.
Yeah, don't do it for the money, boys.
Here's a quick question in relation to that same thing.
Well,
Popularity of the hobby's grown massively over the last 5-10 years, like really massively grown compared to like it being such a niche market to being, to being a mainstream market today. So many more people are interested in doing so. Can you ever see?
Say it was mainstream.
It's not mainstream compared to what it used to be.
Yeah.
It is mainstream compared to what it used to be. Can you ever see it being put so much into the public light or put into the world that competitions would become, say, a part of like bigger organisations, say extreme sports, X Games, for example? Could you ever see it becoming part of that? Could you ever see it become?
I did hear a rumour last year that a certain cow-related, in a kind of rouge colour drink company, supposedly being involved in one of the biggest 3D competitions, but that never came to fruition.
Adrian, hold on. I want to talk about that because I have not rumors, I have facts.
Okay, go on then.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go
All
ahead.
right, man. So, yes, to answer your question, yes. I actually have a friend of mine who is from England. And he is old school. He's what we call Yoda. His name is Len Mount. He flies for Red Bull. That is his only sponsor. And what does Len Mount do for Red Bull? He makes giant scale. And when I say giant, I mean the size of a Volkswagen Beetle with a JetCat PHT-3 turbine or a Jakadowski turbine, and Red Bull pays this man to build these helicopters for Red Bull to fly them, and they backflip them, they do 3D. Lynn doesn't actually do a lot of the flying, but he builds the machines for Red Bull. So yes, that is on target. We call it the most dangerous snake in the world. Yeah.
I think I've seen one of those helicopters on YouTube video. It's a AH1.
It's a BO-105 Bow-Cow is what they call it. It is the Red Bull Bow-Cow. Yeah. And the real helicopter I've seen here in the United States had actually flown in it. Lynn's flown in it. He's actually sat in the thing. And the guy that flies it and does 3D with it in real life, like real life 3D in this thing, made Lynn throw up all over the windshield because he did an aileron roll. And he goes, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" Bam! and all of a sudden Lynn, and dude, Lynn's like 70 years old. He threw up instantly.
let me do an overspeed with it. Let me do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
so yes, to answer your question, yeah, dude, yeah, it's so. Here's the other thing too. You guys all know Nick Johnson. I heard him mention the thing at OHB. Nick, he called it a motorsport. That's the first time I've ever heard it called that way. Our deal, our thing. He said something in an interview or something, and I caught on to that. I'm like, motorsport. You know, it's interesting. So yeah. It is going in that arena. It is corporate to some degree. Me, myself, personally, I don't like to think about it that way. I still like to think about it as, you know, flying a helicopter with my grandpa in the backyard. But, yeah, if you want to take it to that level, sure. So I'll hush again and mute my microphone.
Yeah, just a quick one to the viewers. If you don't know who Len Mount is, look him up on Google and YouTube and everything. He makes probably some of the best scale helicopters in the world.
He doesn't make scale helicopters. He makes miniature things of the real models.
Has he still got that Westland Scout, Dave?
Yes, he has a Westland Scout. He flies a he just finished a Scout. You know, I talk to him all the time. I really talk to him like on a daily basis. And he is kind of my dad. I mean, he really is. He's my British papa. You know, I call him. I'm like, hey. And there's rules about calling England. It's very strange when you call England because you have to stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning over here, and they're just getting up, eating breakfast and shit. You know, eating like you know, tomatoes and beans and stuff. And but when you call over there, you know, you get him on the phone, and he picks up the phone. And he's like, "Hello, mate, cheerio," you know, that sort of deal. And but yeah, he does make the best helicopters in the world. I mean, full on. If you're into scale, Len Mount is the dude.
Yep.
So
Definitely.
that's all I'll say about that.
We've got another question from Kayaking Graham. What do the panel think of is the best simulator? Now, let's start with David. After he's muted his microphone, obviously, and taking a sip of coffee. Perfect timing.
Oh, yeah, it's good coffee.
It's coffee anyway. But they don't drink tea over there. It's, no,
What was the question?
What do you think is the best simulator?
Good question.
What simulator you use?
I'm using both the, well, I'm using AccuRC right now, and I love it. I actually love it. It's great. I like the fact that you can tweak the model, that you can add rotor blades to it, and it changes the effect of the model. Kyle Stacy was over here recently, and I had a visit with him, and he does way more simulator time than anybody on the planet. Because he lives in New York and he freezes his ass off all the time, and but he does a lot of sim stuff. So it's a good simulator for just, you know, tweaking. If you want to change out components, fly barless units, you can adjust the fly barless unit and so forth. I fly real flight too, quite a bit. I actually, shameless promotion here, if you guys want a copy of it. You guys know I'm all into the Stingrays, my Van Halen, Edward Van Halen Stingray. I will send you a copy of that model. There's a kid named Jonas Wackershauser or something, I don't know. He lives in Germany. He designed this real flight Stingray Van Halen model for me. So I fly both. But currently, to answer your question, I fly AccuRC, and it's cool. I want them to come out with more. You know, every time I get an update from them, and they've only released 2 updates, but you know, the new one has night flying. You can hit the L key on the keyboard and turn on night flying. What I'd like to see from them is the ability to share models. So, Kev, if you go in
We lost him. Oh, he's just muted himself.
Continue to speak.
Right. So I think what he was saying there is he wants to be able to share models, so which you can already do in the simulator, whilst he works out how to unmute himself, and he's still carrying on talking away quite happily to it.
Dave,
Duncan,
you're muted.
Yeah.
I'm muted. Why am I muted?
No, you're not.
Oh no. Okay. Okay. Right.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right. That's all right then. Good. It's just Dave that's muted. Duncan, I know you said you don't use a simulator, but you must have tried some of the ones out there. What do you think of them? Which one's the best one?
I have many simulator, but for me the best one is Wild Flight.
Okay. Any particular reason for that?
What?
Any particular reason for that?
Because I fly more airplanes than helicopter, and Wild Flight is really good for airplane.
Yeah. What about pure helicopters?
It's okay, it fly good, but for me, I use simulator just for make my music flight. Also, it's okay, it fly.
Cool. Julian? What do you use?
Yes.
What
So
simulator?
I have a Phoenix and a Real Flight 7.5, I think. And as Duncan, I use it only for music flight. And my favorite is maybe Phoenix. I don't really like it.
Okay. Have you tried any of the other ones at all?
I tried Accuracy Simulator, but the first version, and it was not very perfect.
Yeah, that was fixed. There's a lot changed since then. So was that at Zone? Was it? Yeah.
I try it too. I try it too, but it's okay. But me, when I want to go to the simulator, I don't want to pass maybe 20 minutes to make my helicopter fly good.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. Runa, what's your favourite simulator? What do you think is the best simulator?
I have a Real Flight and a Heli X from Germany. Version 4 and 5, I find that one very good. I don't like the Real Flight for helicopters, but I love it for planes. And basically, I don't do any sim time. Actually, that's pretty rare. So I'm very glad Duncan actually says that he doesn't do sim time. That's like that one. So when I first find time for the simulator, I use Helix 4 and 5.
Okay, and the same question for Simon.
I've currently used Next basically since its release. Like I say, I've said in the comments, it's taught me more than Real Flight, Phoenix, Aerofly. I've tried HeliX as well. Like it was a bit like Accuracy when it was first released. It felt very beta-like, very unfinished, very unpolished. But the owner Klaus and the design Klaus is a real credit to the hobby. He constantly updates its physics, the models, the sceneries, etc. And with every single update that's come along, it's just got better and better and better and better and better. Like it's taught me more than any of the simulators in all of the 6 years, and I've only used it for a year and a half. It really is that good. Like really, really, really good. Like it blurs the lines between like reality and simulator. The only thing it really lacks in is like what all simulators lack in. Say if you're doing TikToks and things like that, you don't really get the feel of TikToking through your own turbulent air. The disturbances that you get when you're doing certain 3D moves, it doesn't really replicate that well, but no simulator really does. I think Accuracy, I mean, I would have bought Accuracy, but it looked great when I first seen the first videos of it. being able to interchange all the bits and get it to fly differently, etc., was brilliant. That the concept is still brilliant, but it still has that unfinished like beta feel to it.
Yeah,
And you can see that in all of the videos that you see of it, and people that I've spoke to who fly it, that it does feel unfinished. I mean, there is a lot of potential in it because of how it was conceived. Like the ideas behind it are brilliant. Like the idea behind it basically is to completely eliminate the line between reality and simulator. I mean, the closer them lines could become, obviously the better it is for the pilots that want to train on it, etc. But the lines that it has at the moment are still not quite up to the standards of, say, Next at the moment. Like Next has been around for a bit longer, it's had a bit more time to be polished, and as a result, it for me, that is the best simulator around at the moment. The likes of Phoenix has got worse since version 5. It has a very corporate feel to it. It also feels very outdated as well. Like they don't seem to add new models quick enough. You know, the lot of models that are on there are not updated, whereas the likes of Next, you know, the newer generations of models are added very quickly. I've helped Klaus in the development of Next personally, like mainly just converting like his German into English, etc., for some people to understand. But his principles behind it all are second to none. Like every model that he's made for that simulator was made using measurements, sounds, feels of the real models. He doesn't make a model for that simulator unless he has the helicopter there to make the real helicopter from, like the real measurements. So like you'll see a loaner from a line or a loaner from SAB, you'll make all of the measurements, do all of the work based around the real model and how it actually flies, and it really shows in the product, like really, really good product. So in my opinion, Next is the best simulator.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was told, and I'm curious about the Next simulator. I was told that only runs on Apple.
It doesn't. No, it runs on Windows and Apple. It's available through Windows and through the Apple Store.
Okay. Does it run on Windows 8 and Windows 10?
It runs on every version of Windows I've tried, which is XP, Vista, Windows 7.
So it has ActiveX controls.
What was that, sorry?
ActiveX controls?
I'm not sure what you mean by ActiveX controls.
ActiveX is Microsoft's technology to allow the transmitter to talk to the hardware interface, by the way.
Right.
Windows, I'd want to check it out because I've heard it's really lightweight, whereas Real Flight and AccuRC both, you know, kind of have a heavy footprint.
Yeah, I mean, Next has so many tuning options. You can like the models that are tuned here, like for example, my Trex 450L. It's so scary how accurate it is on Next compared to it is to my real life one because of them tuning options. Like by default, Next, you know, like the physics have got better and better and better, but to me the models always feel a little bit too light. But if you add a little bit of weight or remove a little bit of pitch, you can like I say the lines between reality and simulator on the 450L on Next is non-existent for me because I've spent that like 2 hours, 3 hours tuning the model to my needs, and it is so accurate. I can't tell the difference. Like the only difference being is when I'm doing when I'm doing TikToks and I'm TikToking in turbulent air, you can't feel that in the simulator. But that's something.
I mean,
how much does it cost?
It costs £80, I think it is. I got it when it was first released for like $45, $50, 50 euros. But you know, it's no more expensive than like all of the other simulators, to be honest.
Okay. All right, that's good information.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Swiftly moving on. Otherwise, we'll be on simulators all night. go back to the Q&A a little bit. Right, so David told TC, any T-Rex Dominator topic? Maybe if we get the chance. Obviously, we've got some,
I will just. Sorry, I got it. I will just cover that just really quickly. I've been flying it. It is flying really nicely with the full-size tail servo, and I swapped out the G Pro, which worked fine, by the way, for the Vortex. Especially with the e-governor now on it, it is freaking awesome. No major issues. I have just in the last couple of days spotted a minor issue with the tail rotor hub. Which, not the hub, but the gearbox, but it's really nothing to worry about. A video will be out in the next few days about that.
This is your Dominator?
Your new 500L Dominator, yeah, and it is flying really nicely. Thank you very much to Skyline for supplying that for us to review. The videos have been getting loads of views. People have seems like people have been really enjoying it. But we don't really have enough time to talk about it tonight. So stay tuned. If you've got any questions, drop me a message, and I will post them publicly for you.
Right, and moving on again, back to the Q&A. Michael Mantle's having withdrawal symptoms from the UK flying weather. Don't worry, we all are. Right, Kayaking Graham again. He's been on. Does the panel feel drones stroke multi-rotor stroke quadcopters are getting too much bad publicity?
Yes. But down to the pilots, not the products.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of bad, but also it's also putting it in the public eye, and I think multi-rotors are probably one of the most bought things this Christmas. So, I mean,
I want to hear Duncan's comments on multi-rotors.
What?
What's your views on FPV and multi-rotors?
I'm waiting for receive my fat shark from Fastlad.
Yeah, I mean, it is a tricky one with these multi-rotors, isn't it? Because there's a lot of really cool things you can do with it. But equally, there's a lot of things that you can do not very well with it. And
yeah, but I think the best thing is to try to see the wife of your neighbors. I think it's the best one.
No, children, we do not recommend that.
No, we don't recommend that.
Although I believe it's legal in France. But yes, anyway. I personally, I hate the word drone because it conjures up, and the media are using it excessively to conjure up this sort of, because it's the same thing, the same word that is used for the military things that go and shoot people and spy planes and great big huge fully autonomous thing that flies thousands of miles and And I had a conversation on Google Plus with somebody the other day. The typical comment was, "I've got a £3,000 multi-rotor. It is a drone." And it's like, no, it's not a drone. It's an aerial. It's a radio control model with a camera on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you are flying it, even though there are stability stuff, gyros, and a bit of GPS in there to help the location. You are flying it still. You are telling it where to go. And you have a limited range on it, so it's they are multi-rotors at the end of the day, or quadcopters, or hexacopters, or try not to use the word drone if you can. But equally, there was a massive, great big container ship that ran aground on a place called the Bramble, which is a big bang in the Solent on the south coast of England, and which had a mechanical problem and basically beached it on there to stop it from capsizing in the middle of the Solent, which is one of the busiest sort of shipping lanes on the south coast. And then some guy took off from the beach on Southampton, nice and safe, well away from anybody, flew around it, taking some pictures on it, and stuck it on YouTube. So he was safe. The place where he was flying from was nice and safe. He wasn't flying over. There were a few boats in the area, but it wasn't packed. there was a couple, but nothing too major, which you can see in the video. And he flew around it, got some beautiful footage of it, and flew back. And that guy, his YouTube channel has had, last time I looked yesterday, and it had been up for 23 hours, so less than a day, and it had 50,000 views. Not all of his other videos had less than 200.
So what do you get for 50,000 views? A free cup of coffee?
Yeah, probably. I don't think he switched the monetizing on, so I don't think he got anything out of YouTube for it. but on the upside, it's putting it's getting the recognition of the sport out there in a nice, safe, and and a nice proper way of doing it. Really nice to see. And that's the key: is doing it in a place that's legal, not and doing it within the rules that are set down in the law. We don't need any rules.
Well, my question is, okay, so how many people on this panel fly them?
I do. I have QAV 250.
Mate, in Vertex.
I
believe
that don't count in Vertex. Come on now.
It's still a quadcopter. I've only got a little one.
My question is, are they too easy to fly?
Definitely.
Like, there's a lot of technology behind them that can, like, a complete and a noob can pick one up, put it into GPS lock, intelligent orientation control, etc. That makes it so easy for people that have never been part of the hobby, can just buy one of these products. Like the most popular one being the DJI Phantom. The amount of bad publicity that DJI Phantoms have getting because of pilots that are not in the know, go and fly near airports, fly over busy crowds. Like, are they too easy to fly?
I don't think it's a question of being easy to fly. I think it's a case of education. I don't think people know whether what they're doing is actually wrong. And it's not until they stick it on YouTube and they get a load of comments saying you're an asshole that maybe they realise. And in some cases they stick it on YouTube and then get arrested. That has happened in the UK. There was a guy up north that flew round Blackwall Tower and flew very, very close to one of the rides at Alton Towers, which is a thing over here, and very nearly hit some stuff, and he got arrested and fined, as far as I'm aware. Quite a lot of money. It was about £1,000. Kev, do you remember that? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it was about £1,000. Yeah, from the CAA. Yeah.
So as long as they're, and I think that's the key really, is to educate these people, these new people that are coming into the sport. They're coming into the sport. Remember that. They are bringing money into the sport, supporting these companies that provide us with all these great toys to play with. And we just need to encourage these people, these new people, to fly responsibly. And as I say, they don't necessarily know that what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah. Do you think a good idea would be to, like, say for DJI to force registration of such products? And
I think a good idea would be to let these people learn how to fly nose in.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, think about what you're saying, okay? So you pick one up, right? And you're a new guy. You can make it go left. You can make it go right. You can make it go forward. But eventually it's going to go away from you. And that's the whole deal. It's flying away. Now, what are you going to do? Well, you got to turn it around at some point, right?
Yeah, you just fly backwards.
So when you turn it around, what are you doing? You're flying nose in. And that, to me, is key. I see so many pilots in the U.S. that can TikTok, can do this, can do that, but they can't take off a helicopter nose in. They cannot fly a helicopter nose in. They cannot fly a multi-rotor nose in. So,
The thing with multi-rotors is they have a get-out-of-jail-free card that that a lot of the people that buy them, they see them advertised as return to home.
What do you
they
mean
get
by
into trouble.
getting a jail-free card? Explain that.
Like they get into trouble. They get far away from themselves. They can't see the model, and you know, they're in an orientation they're uncomfortable with, and their get out jail free card is to hit the switch, which is return to home. That return to home.
Return to home. All return to home does is supposedly put it where you left it. That doesn't necessarily mean that it will come back to where you need it to be.
I've owned the TBS Discovery Pro, and it had the NASA V2 on it, and the return to home it's like witchcraft. I don't know if you've ever tried it yourself, but if you have a trouble set up and you click that switch 100 times, I tried it something like 100 times, and every single time I hit that switch, it landed within 10 feet of where it took off. Every time. And the companies like DJI,
All return to home does
they advertise this, and the people that don't know that much about the hobby, so failure rates, etc., and that it's not always going to work, are always believing that it is going to work. So they hit the switch, and it comes back to them. Like that's one of the big selling points and why so many people do it, because you don't necessarily have to have the skill. All you got to do is just hit a switch when you get into trouble. But that's not always going to work, is it?
No, and a lot of the trouble, the biggest problem with the motor rotors is they don't have any sort of real backup solution. So when something does go wrong, they do generally go down. But I think that you mentioned registration, but I think I've seen that.
I mean, picture the scenario. You buy a DJI.
I don't think registration is going to work, because you're going to rely on somebody registering it. If they're not going to follow the rules, then they're not going to follow the rules, and there isn't a lot you can do about that.
But take that out of their hands. Say, for instance, for you to buy a DJI Phantom, you have to plug it into your computer and configure it to get it to work, or most of them come ready to fly. But if you make it compulsory that they have to plug it into their PC, register with a website, and before the flight controller is active and it is allowed to be flown, they have to watch a video on, say, tutorials of how to fly it. 10 small videos, do's and don'ts, before the quad is even active. I mean, surely the technology's available to do that. Yeah, and to get
it's there, but they will circumvent it. I mean,
hey, you know what, man? Hey, I'm gonna pull the trigger here, okay? I'm the guest on this show. This is all nice and comfortable and great, but we got Duncan Bozian on here, so let's let the multi-rooter shit and throw it in the garden now, okay?
It's a fair point. It is a fair point.
We will. I mean, don't get me wrong. I just ordered a DJI Inspire. It's all great and everything, but I want to talk to the people that have time to talk shit. So let's go.
There's one person that's just come into the chat room that I'm pretty interested to speak to. Mark Troutman, Mr. Spinblades himself. Just want to get him to introduce himself and let us know if he's got any new products on the way. Are you there, Mr. Troutman?
Yeah, I am. I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Hi, Mark. How are you?
No, pretty good.
Good. How would you want to just give us a little bit of background into yourself, a little bit of history of Spinblades, and where Spinblades are going? What sort of innovations you've got coming up?
Well, we got a couple of new things coming up. I think people saw Duncan fly the stuff for a while and been testing a lot, and yeah, I think there's some interesting things coming up, which probably is going to be shown by most of the team guys. I don't want to say too much about it right now because the guys are working pretty hard on a video with Duncan and Stu and Alan and Jonathan and all our pro team guys, and just stay tuned, basically. But we'll get some definitely interesting news coming. Going to be the first blades which are not drilled anymore. every manufacturer.
Okay, so how did you get involved in the hobby, Dave? Where did your journey with spin blades start? What was it that prompted yourself to start making spin blades?
I was flying remote control, like my dad's a ex-fighter pilot, so I grew up on air bases. And I was always flying. I mean, I was flying gliders when I was 14. I got my license to fly gliders, and I was always into the hobby. And sometime I just realized there's not the kind of blade that I want on the market, and I was working for F1 for a while. And then I just used the connections I had with F1 and started spin blades. And then got connected with some of the best pilots in the world and developed a product.
Cool.
And that was like 2009, I think. Yeah, 2009.
Okay, cool. So how long have you been flying helicopters yourself? And is it something you've done for a long time, or?
Yeah, well, I was flying planes most of the time because when I was a kid, my parents didn't want to pay for helicopters because they were way too expensive back then.
Yeah.
So I have a little remote control glider and then a remote control called the Graupner Taxi, which is a German. Yeah, Graupner. Everybody knows Graupner.
Yes.
Little trainer, and then got more and more into that.
Okay. Cool.
Just, started university, and after university got involved with Formula One. Got tired of Formula One and traveling, and told my girlfriend I'm going to do something new and don't travel that much anymore. And since then I've been traveling with Duncan and not with my girlfriend.
so Duncan's now your girlfriend then? Is that what you're saying?
My event girlfriend.
Really. So what would you say it means to yourself on a personal level and as a business that you have got the world champion on your pilot list? What does it mean to you?
Who's the world champion?
Oh, it's just some French kid called Duncan. You might have heard of him.
Oh, okay, that alien.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's he's a great pilot. He's a great guy, and but I think when you realize our team showing up somewhere, I mean, obviously we have some of the best pilots in the world, but we're all good friends, and I think that's the most important part of it. Yeah, it is great that he's like the world champion, and we all worked hard for it, and he's a great developer, and his brother also did a lot of good work on development on the blades. But yeah, it's just like we're just a big group of friends, basically. It's he wouldn't fly off the team if he's not world champion anymore. He would still be the same guy.
Hey, Mark, I have a question. Somebody told me that you make really good scale blades, that you make really good, nice, big, long scale blades. Is that true?
Yeah, the biggest blades we make is 1.60 meters, which is about, let's go, okay, we're metrical, so that's hard for you. So that's like,
yeah,
3.5 foot, Dave.
Yeah, it's for a 3.5 meter scale helicopter. It's the biggest rotor disc we have.
That's cool. That's cool. So yeah, well, that's good that you do that because there is a very limited market for us scale guys to go buy good blades.
Somebody told me I'm bored of scale.
Well, I mean, you know, different strokes for different folks, man. You know, I mean, we can't just keep going to Vario and John White and stuff. I'm glad that Mark is making rotor blades that we can use too, you know?
Yeah, there's a video on our YouTube or on our Facebook where you can dunk a big scale machine.
Mark, have you got any headphones? I'm getting a bit of quite a lot of feedback off you.
Yeah, I do somewhere.
Well, we'll come back to you in a minute. I'm just going to mute you for now. Right.
Nope, it's still there. The feedback's still there, whoever it is.
Somebody's feeding back.
Yeah.
So,
Never mind.
Duncan, so what's it like, sort of working with Mark, with the blades?
It's really cool. Really, really, really cool.
Do you spend time socially with him, drinking and stuff, or is it just purely a professional?
No, only professional, like Mikado. Only professional.
Dadu! So, what sort of involvement do you have in the Blade's development, Duncan? So, say Mark supplies you a set of blades to test. Are you able to then say, no, this flies rubbish, and then just steer the development of a blade? Are you able to give that sort of feedback?
Yeah, you know, I started to fly with spin blade maybe 4 years ago. And when I tried it, because you know, everybody, when you have a good sponsor, you will never say to your sponsor, "Oh, your project is not good," and it's a really big problem. And me, I said to Mark, "Okay, this blade can't work 4 years ago, but we will work on a new blade, and after we work maybe 2 years for make the 685. I know everybody when he tests this blade." I know he will buy only this blade after the test. And sometimes in some event, I take out my blade from my helicopter and put the blade on other helicopter from friend or from everybody just for try. And during the fight, when we start to pump the pitch, it just make a funny face because he never do that with other blade. Because this blade is really, it's perfect.
Even now, it's quite surprising how much different blades make, even on the flyby system, which adds so much authority over what the model's doing. It's amazing how much difference sort of, blades can make to the way the model flies. I've been quite surprised by that. So what is can they? Can the blades improve for you? What do you want to see next from blades? Where do you see it going?
Where
would you like it to go? Where would you like the blade development to go next?
I don't understand.
What do you see the blades doing in future that they're not doing at the moment? Where can they go?
For the future?
Yeah.
We are working for 3 blade. Because I have a helicopter with 3 blade head, and we are working on it because it fly really good, but we are working on it, and we are working on the new blade for 2015. Totally different blade. It can be really, really cool.
I think a good place to go here is well, actually, I'm just going to have a quick question about the 3-blade stuff. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of that sort of stuff coming through. What are you flying 3-blade wise? What model are you flying, and what head is it? And
I use it my X7 with a TSA head, and yeah.
Do you think it's the future for the competition flying, or is it a bit of a fad, or where do you think it's going?
It's difficult because it's flying good, but you use less RPM, but you need more power. Also, for the flight time is okay, but I think you need to have a 3-blade tail blade. Because me, when I fly with 1,600 RPM or maybe 1,700 RPM, the tail is shit. I put the gain more higher, but the tail is shit. And after the helicopter fly good, but I don't think it can be. I don't know for the future in competition because I think the sponsor of the blade, like every company, will say to the pilot, no. You crush too much. Fly a 2-blade is better.
Yeah, but surely for that competitive edge, though, that's got to be the way forward.
What?
For the competitive edge, for that edge on the flying, it's got to be the way forwards.
It's better. I prefer to fly the 3-blade for this time, but you know, at this time it's the winter, and for me in the winter I don't fly too much. Prefer to go to party and don't fly for the winter. So we can speak about that at the start of the competition.
Mark, if you unmute yourself, please. Hopefully we should be getting a little bit less off you now. What do you think of the 3-blade stuff from a blade manufacturer's perspective? What do you think of it? You need to hit the unmute button at the top in the middle. There you go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't think it really makes sense. On aerodynamic wise, it doesn't really make sense to have a 3-blade set. It's something different, and that's what people like to see, is something different. But working on a 1-blade would definitely be more effective and would be aerodynamic wise better. But for the kind of maneuver the guys do, 1-blade would be really hard, because if a 1-blade works on regular flying head speed, Duncan will do an overspeed and the whole helicopter will explode. Yeah, well, more blades is just more drag, and aerodynamic-wise, it does not make sense. On a manufacturer expect, well, yeah, a 3-blade head sponsoring, less traveling, less money left for traveling. But yeah, I don't really think it makes sense. I mean, the guys like it. Duncan loves it for smack flying. He says it flies really, really good. But just with the aerodynamic background, it does not make sense. The only reason why big full-size helicopter have 4-blade or 5-blade head is to lower the RPM, so to reduce the noise with all the people living around them, and just for that. It does not make sense for like the efficiency. Efficiency is definitely better. Like the best efficiency would be a 1-blade head.
Mm-hmm.
On aerodynamic points.
So I was under the impression that for just a constant state sort of hover, then yeah. But I was under the impression that for cyclic input, because you've then with a 3-blade, because you've then got at least 1 blade doing something.
Well, the 1-blade is always in the dirty air of the other blade, which is like creating turbulences, and the more blades you have, the more turbulence you will have. And more turbulence you have, less your input will actually, make your blade move. If you would only have a 1-blade head, that's where you have the cleanest air for that 1 blade. If you have 2 blades running in front of it, you have more turbulence where the blade is actually in there.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, I was.
So, and if it's just for stable, I mean, you can make obviously, I mean, if you have a blade which weighs 180 grams, for example, which is like an average weight for a 700 size blade, your turning weight you have on your head is around 400 grams. So if you have a 3-blade, it's 600 grams. Obviously, that's definitely going to hover better. But if you just raise the weight of 1 blade for like 300 grams and put 2 on there, you also have the 600 and will be the same stable.
Okay, but you get more cyclic power in the 3-blade, don't you?
No, you don't, because you're actually touching more turbulence air.
Okay.
Now you do, because the way there's always it's called like the circle you're actually covering with your blades.
Yeah.
And if you because what people do is they use regular 3-blades. They use regular blades and just put 3 on there. What we do, if we make 3-blade blades for like scale helicopters, we make smaller blades, not lengthwise, but just like core-wise and airfoil wise.
Okay, so thinner and less chord to.
Yeah, so we have the same lift, because physics is always lift is always related to drag.
Yeah.
So if you produce more lift, you have more drag. If you have more drag, you need more power.
Can I just ask a quick question to Mark?
Yeah, go for it.
Like, with the three-bladed heads, like, say on a 600 size helicopter, you're swinging 600 millimeter blades, and you're running three blades. Like, it's quite common that a Goblin 630 is more agile than the 700 because it has a smaller disc, right? With the three-bladed heads, you could, for instance, run 570s and thread 600s. Are you getting actually more lift with having that extra blade? And then, like, instead of having two 600s, you can have 570s.
Yeah, but
you're lowering the disc size and allowing it to rotate quicker, but you're getting more lift because of that extra blade. Is that how it works, or?
Not really, because you're lowering the disc size. Means if you look at the point where the blade lifts, the 20% out of the blade, like the farthest 20% of the blade is producing the most lift. Like the inside of the blade is not making any lift at all.
Yeah.
So if you that's why it's a big difference running 690s or 710s. Because it's only 2 centimeters, but it's all the way on the tip.
Right.
So smaller disc doesn't really help that much. I mean, what you should, if we would actually design a really good three-bladed blade for a 3D helicopter, you would need to change the blade and not just use like the regular blade mold that you're using. Just because you're testing around. I mean, it works. You can get the blade lighter and you can make it work, but it's not going to be as good as if you would like actually design a totally new blade for it.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for moving the CG in as well, isn't there, towards the centre with the extra blade. I was having a chat with Dave Fisher a while back, and he was saying how the centre of gravity is closer to the hub. They don't run it quite so far out or something. I've had a few beers since then and slept and stuff, so I can't remember. But is there something about that, about the moving the CG a little bit?
Yeah, with moving it, yeah, of course. With moving the CG, you can definitely change the aggressivity of the blade. I mean, Dave has been testing, like, some of the first 3 blades he had were like actually prototypes from us, and we've been working with him quite a while on the 3-bladed heads, and now Duncan is getting more and more into it. So I guess we just have to go back to the drawing board and make something. But on aerodynamics perspective, it doesn't really make that much sense. But it's just like, you know, sometimes people want something different, and that's cool. I mean, if you look at a Trex 450, for example, you bought a Trex 450 5 years ago. You build it like it was in the manual, and you ran it regular. Your head speed was around 2,200, 2,300. You buy a kit now. It doesn't matter if it's a Gaui X3 or a 450 T-Rex or whatever it is, and you build it up like it's in the manual, and you run regular speed controllers on it, everything like it should be on the kit. You measure your head speed, it's about 3,500, 3,800, something around that. But still the same blades. They haven't changed. The blades and the kits are basically the same. So what we did is we just made a thinner airfoil, which is producing less lift. With less lift, it's producing less drag. And everybody's saying like, wow, these blades are so much more pop. Yeah, they have more pop because they don't drag that much. But if you were to like lower the head speed and use a thicker airfoil and an older fashion blade, you would be on the same level basically. But the helicopter wouldn't be aggressive, or not that aggressive, because you're running less head speed. So there's 2 ways to get to the solution. There's one is like really thick airfoil, low head speed, or really thin airfoil and super high head speed. It depends on what the pilots want.
Okay, that's cool. So we'll have to, Mark, at some point, if you're available, we do a little thing occasionally called, we haven't actually done one for a while, called Bite Size, where we get somebody on to have a 20-minute chat about a specific subject. We've had Bert on talking about servos, and we had Bobby on talking about the invertex. So maybe we could organise something to do a Bite Size on rotor blades. Come talk to us in a bit more detail about rotor blades at some point.
Yeah, sure. No worries.
Cool, awesome. We've had another joiner, another regular, Lee Trevathan. If you say the weather is beautiful in Spain, I may have to kick you.
Let me see. It was 21 degrees yesterday. So.
Go away.
I've just got one question for you, Lee. How the hell did you smash that goblin up that much?
Oh, it was Christmas for me was bad. I crashed everything. I mean, you guys know that I haven't crashed very much for a long time, but I made up for it over Christmas. And I was doing a traveling TikTok just off the ground, and just thumb-thumbed it and smashed it in tail first. So yeah, it was a pretty good one. Obviously, the boom snapped off and went straight into the blades, and yeah. But you've seen the photos of the repair job we're doing on the boom, because I'm lucky enough here to have a friend who's a composite guy and works with supercars and bikes and stuff like that. So he had a look at it, and he's helping me repair it. So I thought, I mean, they're cheap to buy, but I thought, well, I'd have a go anyway and see how it works. So did that. And
Duncan, sorry, talking of crashes, I can see Duncan's whiling away the hours down there. And Duncan, what's the worst crash you've ever had? What's the biggest impact? How much money have you cost your sponsor? The biggest one.
I think for my biggest crash, it's one kit, one motor, one ESC, 3 servo, 2 batteries, everything.
Oh, a complete recap.
But it's not a pussy crash. It's a real crash.
How did you do that? What were you doing at the time for that to happen?
It's every time the same. For the best crash, it's play stop. my brother make a nice one, and the helicopter burn. Everything dead.
Wow.
This is nice.
What is that? I'm not quite sure what it says.
It's the 540 of GOI, the quadri rotor, the hexacopter. We flew it on Las Vegas building, and after 2 minutes of flight, I don't know why, but every engine stopped, and it's like a blade stop of a quadri rotor during maybe 200 meters and explodes 10 meters next to Mark and me in Las Vegas, just next to the Las Vegas Strip, maybe 100 meters next to the Las Vegas Strip. And everything is dead.
And it all fit in that small box. It's still in there.
And I did the same with the X3. The one day before, I received the X3 from Experience RC.
I have the box of the X3. I'll go get
it. I built it in 1 hour 20 minutes or something like that, and I flew it during maybe 2 flights, and the second flight I exploded. I break the 3 servos, the kit, everything. This is the box of the X3. It's a box of OptiPower 1400 LiPo, and the X3 is in there.
I also believe that when you came over for Heli Masters in the UK and you were flying Andy Hinton's machines, Andy Hinton was getting good at repairing his machines, wasn't he?
That was cool.
Remind me to never let him fly one of my models.
Oh, he can fly it. One of mine any day.
No, you just got to be fair. I mean, if it's if you need things like going to Okasha when the NX7 was like the first time showed to public, everybody said, well, Duncan, it's the first prototype. We need videos, we need photos, we need everything. He was flying this as usual. Like everybody was saying, like, oh my God, he's flying a prototype. There's no parts. and he was flying it for months, really, really hard, and not crashing at all. I mean, if he has 3 helis on backup, yeah, that's not good. Don't do that. if you only give him 1 helicopter, say there's no parts, he will fly it for a whole season without a crash.
I mean, so that's a tip then.
That's it. It's
The first 6 of 685 prototypes that we had, we actually brought to Vegas in 2013, I think. And we were flying at Hoover Dam, and we were flying all over the places, and always like, Duncan was like, no, I can't fly with that machine right now. That's the only set of 685s I have. I use the other helicopter. But every time when we were doing demos and people wanted to see him fly the electric, and he was flying like 50 flights, 60 flights, and not even touch the blade. I mean, it's to be fair, he can be consistent if he wants to.
You need to tell me before.
On the subject of crashing, I don't know if Dave's there. It's just gone on to his standby. Are you there, Dave?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, Dave has got a lovely story about a Robbie Millennium crashing into a field full of cows, haven't you, Dave?
Say that again?
So you've got a great story about a Robbie Millennium and a cow.
Well, that happened a long time ago.
Oh, come on, don't be shy. Tell everybody all about it.
Well, okay. Don't call PETA on us, but yeah, back in the old days, I say old days, we flew in Corpus Christi, Texas, and that's how I actually was introduced to my first UK pilot, Bob Johnston. You guys know him, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Bob, yep.
Well, Bob's a legend, man. He was incredible. Absolutely incredible pilot. He used to fly for, I think it was NHP blades and the CSM gyro, the 360 was brand new. And I remember Curtis, actually, his dad made gyros back then, hand built for him. But when the CSM 360 came out, it was a phenomenal deal. They invented heading hold. Yeah. And I say that long ago, it was like 91, I think. So anyway, so get back to the story. Yeah, we flew Schluter stuff. Schluter was the original, really, really cool helicopters. And Curtis had a machine called the Futura SE. You could buy a Schluter Futura, but the SE was the Curtis Youngblood, whatever he did with it, where he changed the parts and did whatever. So yeah, so me and my buddies went one day in a field, and we weren't supposed to be there. We just picked the field out, and yeah, we started flying. And back then, before 3D was 3D, the maneuver was this thing called the death spiral. So what you do is you'd go up and you would do a stall turn basically and cut pitch to 0, and then hit the tail rotor as hard as you could hit it, and it'd go wing, 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 all the way down, and then you would pull out inverted as close as you could to the deck, and that was the death spiral, When we're running, we back then we had an OS61 SFN was the motor. You run a tuned pipe back then, that sort of thing. So we were flying in this guy's field, and they were doing that. We were learning this maneuver, and all of a sudden, cows rolled up on us, and my buddy Anthony went wing, 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 whack, whack, and it hit a cow. And yeah, man, it was a bad deal, dude. The cow went, and made a godly noise, and we walked over there, and it was bleeding to death, and we're like, fuck, man, what do we do? Sorry, I mean the language, but we're like, what do we do, man? What do we do? What do we do? The farmer comes out with a shotgun and stuff. He's like, what are you doing on our land? you know. And make a long story short, you know, helicopters and cows didn't really mix. We ended up having to pay for the cow. The AMA wouldn't cover it. So we all kind of reached in our pockets and told the farmer, you know, sorry. I felt sorry for the cow, man. It was, you know, it was a bad deal.
Yeah, no, that's probably a pretty unexpected way to go for a cow. I would have thought.
Well, you know,
every day.
That'll get your head chopped off and get in the meat cutter and just make a steak out of them. You know what's funny is a lot of people bust my balls. They're like, well, why didn't you just, if you paid for the cow, why didn't you just ask the dude, hey, man, can we take the body with us and make steaks out of it? You know.
I was just thinking that actually myself.
I can tell you this, it was really gross, and it was really disturbing. And when the police showed up and, you know, that whole deal, it was kind of ridiculous, but, you know.
There's a funny movie where they're saying, like, where are you from? Oh, you're from Texas? Yeah, you're from Texas. Oh, okay, they only have cows and gays. So now you're saying there's a story that you fly a helicopter in Texas and you hit a cow.
That's funny, Mark. That's funny, Mr. Troutman, because what you're talking about is, the movie that you're talking about is the Vietnam. What he actually says is steers or queers.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, guys. Very conscious of the time. Have we got any final questions for any of the panel here tonight? Does anybody want to ask any questions of anybody else?
I've got one last one in Q&A, but let Simon go first.
Quick question for Duncan. Safety. Is it high enough? Is it high enough on professionals' lists? Because they do fly awfully close to themselves. It makes me cringe sometimes. Like, is safety really considered? Like, I know the safety of like competitors and crowds with nets and stuff like that's well catered for, but for the pilots themselves, do you think there's more that could be done for that?
But it's a good thing to speak about that. Also for the safety, it's really difficult because, you know, when you want to fly really low, you need to fly close for see your helicopter really really nice. Because if you fly really far away, you don't see your helicopter really good. Also, you don't see the ground, and you don't see when your tail will touch the ground. Also, you need to fly close, but you need to be really. It's difficult for the safety because me, when I fly, I know I fly really close. I know I fly really speed, and I know if I touch the ground during a circle, it can be really dangerous. That's why I don't want to have so many people just behind me when I fly. I just want to have one people because if I do some shit, he can kick me for go far away from the helicopter. But the safety, it's really difficult to speak about it because I prefer to fly really far away and not close. But me, when I go to fly, every time I fly close, and that's why I want to have people just behind me. So I always have my brother just behind me for saying me fly far away. And when Mark is just behind me during demonstration, he's tell me maybe 10 times during the flight, you fly too close, go far away.
And 30 times.
and I say to him, don't hesitate to tell me that because me, when I fly, I don't thinking about that. I just thinking about the maneuver and look the ground for don't touch it. I don't think about I fly close or I fly far away. And every time I need to have people just behind me for tell me I need to fly far away. I don't need to fly close.
I think on the professional level, it's okay. The problem is. Like we've seen in the past, you know, they see Duncan fly, do big overspeeds, fly close to himself. But I mean, I've stand like so many flies next to Duncan, and I've filmed and always are around there when we test and stuff. And they have the control. Even things fail, and you would say everybody else would kill himself. Those guys do it a lot, so they know what they do. But the problem is the average pilot sees that on YouTube and says, "Well, I saw this guy flying like chaos and front of his feet, and they try it too, and they don't have the control, and that's the dangerous part of it.
I can understand that the professionals have the self-belief and the skill to fly that close, but like anybody that's been in this hobby for a fair amount of time will know that regardless of how well maintained your helicopter is and how many pre-flight checks you do, things still do go wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think it's really worth, like, for the organising bodies of all these competitions to start employing like simple ideas like safety nets and things like that?
They do.
The
regs are already there. My perspective is that you need to keep the spectators safe, right?
Yes.
But the pilot it's his own responsibility to keep himself safe, right? If he wants to fly close to himself, as long as he's not endangering anybody else, as far as I'm concerned, that's like off-road mountain biking. If you're going to go and do downhill mountain biking, you're going to fall. Yeah, you could fall off, and you could hit a tree, and you could severely hurt themselves.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, but they're not going to hurt anybody else in the process of doing that.
But
with a helicopter, it's exactly the same. But we do have all the distances. If you go to Helimasters at Venlo, they've got the nets up. The distance from the flight line to the crowd line is a set amount. Flying clubs are set up to for all that sort of thing already.
Yeah.
So it is something that you just have to make sure you're not endangering anybody else and make the judgment call yourself.
Hey, Adrian, I have something to comment on that, though, too. Okay.
Go on, man.
So, despite the safety aspect of it, and I will say this to close out the show, and I'm very glad that you guys invited me and allowed me to invite my friends, my new friends from France and stuff. I stood behind Duncan, and I was scared, but I watched it, and I'll be goddamn if that wasn't the coolest damn thing I ever seen, and it made my whole year for 2015. So, I looked at that, watched it, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. So, do it out there, do it safe, far away. But
I'm never scared standing behind Duncan. I'm scared standing behind a net when someone's flying I've never seen before and can't even hover and trying TikToks in like 1 feet high.
Well, that's true too. That's true too.
Yep.
Well, you definitely scared about flying behind me, Mark, and I can just hover. So Anyway.
Right. Last one from the Q&A then before we wrap it all up. Just a quick question for Mark. This one. How long on average would it take you to develop a brand new set of blades from start to finish?
That's a good question.
From complete concept of idea to getting stuff on the shelves for sale.
2 weeks.
Trump's a badass, dude.
No, it takes. Well, there is some. I think that's what's different with us. Like there's a pretty long time that we like actually do tests in the wind tunnel and do like aerodynamic simulations and get to do the airfoil and all that. And then when the blade is finished and we're saying, okay, now we're done with the drawing board, then we start handing out prototypes to the team. And that really depends on weather conditions and how good it is. But when the team says they're ready, then usually we fly them almost a season, and then we bring them on the market. I mean, the new line, which is going to come out next year, Duncan has been flying them for a while. Not on public events, but on, like, to know that, like, if a blade lasts 30 flights with Duncan, you can guarantee it lasts 2 years with a regular customer.
And these don't have bolt holes? Explain that.
There's no drilling in the bolt hole anymore. Every manufacturer so far is making a blade by pulling like pre-packs or carbon or whatever into the mold, and on the end of the blade, when the blade is finished, it comes out of the mold, and they drill the hole, and then they put a washer or like a spacer in there to have the bolt hole. What you do is you're actually destroying the fabric on the part where you're drilling the hole. And if you look at a blade, it's always 45 degrees. so it's not just the straight part. So you're actually weakening the whole root by putting carbon in there. We have a strength measuring machine which can go up to 2 tons, and a regular 700 red tip or a 685 red tip breaks around 1 ton of power on force. Depends on like it's hand laminated, so some are like 980 kilos, some are like 1,050 kilo or something. And with the new way of manufacturing, we're not putting more fabric in there. We just changed the way of making the blade on not drilling anymore. We can't break the blades with 2 tons anymore, and we're not buying a new machine to see if it breaks on more than 2 tons. But it's pretty interesting thinking about using the same fabric, the same kind of material, just a different way of manufacturing. You double the strength.
That's badass, dude. When do those come out?
We'll see. Should be pretty soon. There's a teaser video is already up, and yeah, they're gonna be, yeah, they're really strong on the root and on the way the construction is built.
Cool.
So when these guys are doing these 4,000 RPM overspeeds, what sort of loading are they seeing on the blades?
800 kilo.
800 kilo. Wow. Okay, so that's
so 2 tons.
That's the reason why we like. I mean, we have a maximum head speed that we actually put on the blades, and obviously, I mean, some of the guys just came up with the story that happened in the U.S. with that one guy where he was doing an overspeed and we couldn't reply on heli freaks because they blocked us and all that stuff. I mean, there was like a big, I think there were like a lot of politics behind it, and we got the crash parts back couple months later. We asked for them right away and got them back a couple months later. We found out it was a prototype which was not supposed to be flying by these guys and all that. Long story, but to make it short, that actually made us think about changing the way we designed the root. And we didn't have more room to put more carbon in there. So we had to find out a different solution. And yeah, that's why we just said, okay, and that's why we like everything which you see on the market from spin blades right now. I mean, the whole semi-symmetrical line, the red tips, the special editions, all that stuff is on sale right now because we're not manufacturing them since October anymore. So we're going to come out with a totally new line of symmetrical blades and a totally new line of semi-symmetrical, and I think that line will change the market pretty big again, because we always been one of the guys who came out with things first. I mean, we were the first ones coming out with Kevlar. We were the first ones coming out with changing airfoils. And I think there's another benchmark we just set, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's always hard to see how the market will like it, but construction-wise, it's pretty cool, and we have the patent already. We just got that document a couple of weeks ago, so yeah, we're almost there.
It's nice to see a manufacturer taking all those. I can't really say problems because it wasn't a problem like you say. It was a blade.
Yeah, on the end of the day, it was a problem. Yes, he was.
Yeah,
he was off the limit, and if you would have buy a set of winter tires and go on the highway, and the winter tires' maximum head speed is 140 miles. You go 150 miles, you break your car. You would do everything to make sure nobody knows about it because you want your insurance to pay. RC is different. Everybody is pulling fingers and saying, "Oh, look at that! Look at that!" Nobody's saying, "Well, the blade maximum head speed is 2,300. You were running 2,800." If you would do that with a car, you would be in jail. On a car accident, your car's maximum speed is 140. You'd cause an accident with 160. You lose your driver's license forever. RC is different. RC people are pulling fingers at whoever it is, and on the end of the day, you still couldn't say if it was the blade, if it was something else. But that's not the fact. The fact, what we saw, is like, wait a minute, we have people which are really, really important for us, and that's our team. I mean, our team is like, we'll connect with them. They're not just team pilots for us and test them. It's where we say, okay, we make money of them. I mean, we take care of them. They are involved in the company. If you say something bad about the company, they they feel like, hey, you're hurting me. I mean, they're part of it. And we're sending them out there flying on events, and they doing maneuvers where actually our insurance would just say, well, sorry, we can't do anything. He's off the limit. And that's what we said, okay, we have to do something to get our insurance to cover that, to be back in limit. And that's why we said we have to change something.
That's really good to see, because, I mean, the easy way out would just to say, no, this is the limit, don't fly beyond it, and that's it, job done. And
you haven't really met many of our team guys, huh? I've tried so many times.
That would be the easy way of doing it, wouldn't it? That would be.
No, it's not. Try to say, Duncan, you're off the limit. You don't do that. That's not easy.
Yeah, I've got a hand.
I go in the office for 2 years and work on something besides getting Duncan to do something not.
Right, I'm really
all
sorry.
credit to you, Mark. All credit to you. You know, taking everything like that on board and making it safe for us all. All credit to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we
I'm
play
sorry,
ourselves.
but it's now 11:10. We try to keep it to 2 hours, and we're now at 2:11. So really, thank you very much for everybody for coming along.
Let's just shout out for Howard, though. He's listening. Howard from Gaui is listening and chatting on Facebook. Hey, you have to say hi to me.
But, Howard, if you want to come on the show, mate, you're more than welcome at some point down the line. Come on and say hi and have a chat. I need to fix my X5, so that's the only trouble. But yeah, thank you very much for coming, everybody. It's been really, really interesting chat. Thank you for Duncan and Mark, especially for coming on and saying hi, and of course David. How can we forget
and Julian? Don't forget Julian.
And Julian as well, yeah, and everybody else. I mean, you've made a really good show, guys. Thank you very much for coming and supporting us and everything else. It's been really, really good fun.
Thank you.
Stay tuned, everybody. Next show will be again next month, obviously, a month's time-ish, somewhere around there. Anybody can pop in and come and say hi. We've got 10 spaces, and just come and say hello and have a chat, ask some questions, possibly, and then come and have a laugh. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.